Hey, what's going on? My name is Jack Lane. Welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. I don't like what I've just read. I don't like what I've just seen, what I'm about to read to you guys. I don't like it. That's my opinion. The reason why I'm doing this video is because I want to hear yours. And that opinion is on Kevin Feige breaks down Marvel Studios' plans to make the MCU more accessible. When I first saw the headline, I thought, okay, this is going to be Disney Plus. They're going to try and put some stuff on Netflix. They're going to try and branch it out a bit. So people are going to get a taste of the MCU and not just be tied to the Disney Plus or buying the movies and TV shows. Because Netflix had Marvel shows before. Anyway, the article then goes on to say, the Marvel Cinematic Universe that began with the release of Iron Man in 2008 is unique in cinematic history, an interconnected series that currently includes over 50 films and television series. It tells a continuing universal story with one entry building upon the previous to create an immersive fictional world, while fans of the MCU find this linked world and its many Easter eggs exhilarating. It can prove to be daunting. For anyone new to jump into the series with such a storied legacy, it seems Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige agrees and is planning on doing something about it. Okay. So, it has 50 movies, 50 shows, over 50 projects in the MCU. Right. And that's an issue why. Okay? So, hear me out. If you've watched 50 shows, if you've watched 50 Marvel projects, since the beginning of the MCU creation, if you've spent all that time watching the really bad stuff, they're no longer going to reward you for that. Here, and this is where it now continues. In recent interview with the comic book, Feige discussed the recent move to separate the MCU's film, television, and animation projects in an effort to make the MCU more accessible to new viewers. For several years, Marvel Studios and Marvel Television coexisted, with the former producing movies under the guidance of Feige and the latter delivering TV shows headed up by Jeff Loeb. While there were several character ties between the two arms of Marvel, it became clear over the years that things were never quite in sync with the shows such as Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., throwing up major discrepancies like not recognizing the rules of time travel and a 5-year time jump that were introduced in Avengers Endgame in 2019. Things changed with the Marvel Television and Marvel Family Entertainment being brought under the Marvel Studios banner under Feige's direct control. So this happened 5 years ago. However, 5 years later, ironically, it seems that Marvel Studios is once again splitting itself into different banners. I'll bet with all of them still falling under the Marvel Studios umbrella. That is something we need to, understand. Feige then explains it's all under the Marvel Studios, which is not the case with the previous incarnation of Marvel Television. One reason we wanted to do that is so that the animation team, the Marvel animation team that just did X-Men 97, has a bunch of great shows ready and coming out. The hope is that this will open the MCU up to a wider audience who will no longer feel overwhelmed by where to begin, Feige continues. Then with the Marvel Television to focus, it's so that people realize that, like the comics, you can tap into something interesting. It's not all required viewing. There's a sense of people saying superhero fatigue or have to say they're doing homework. But these are all individual stories meant to be singular entities. The connectivity is a bonus and something that people like. While Marvel Studios works to create new avenues for the audience to discover joys of the MCU, it's also working to expand the very universe by leaps and bounds with over 20 years of modern Marvel storytelling on both the big and small screen. The acquisition of 20th Century Fox and the integration of Marvel Entertainment has brought many characters back into the Marvel fold, thanks to the introduction of the multiverse. Many of those characters have made unexpected returns to the franchise. Over the last 3 years, this has seen the return of characters from Marvel's television, the Defenders saga, namely Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, Daredevil, and Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk, also known as Kingpin, with the two actors having made several appearances in projects like Marvel's Spider-Man No Way Home, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, and Echo 2025 will see the arrival of many more familiar faces in Daredevil Born Again. Of course, they also appeared in Hawkeye. While that series originally planned to be a fresh start for Cox's Vigilante, a change of direction has fully embraced the character's past in Netflix Daredevil series. While it seems that the MCU will play with the timeline of the Defenders series, their incorporation into the official MCU timeline on Disney Plus indicates that they are now considered canon by Marvel Studios. This week, Deadpool and Wolverine bursts onto the screens, bringing with it many characters and references to the old Fox universe of the X-Men. Fire antics of the fourth wall breaking anti-hero Deadpool and Wolverine promises to introduce both known variants of beloved X-Men characters, complete with a fight in front of the old Fox logo, and new variants such as Wolverine in his iconic comic book accurate yellow and blue costume, previously unseen on films. The introduction of these new characters into the MCU canon could make it an even more daunting prospect for new audience members to discover the joys of Marvel storytelling, which makes this the perfect time to introduce some separation between the film's television and animation, in the hopes of capturing an audience that might enjoy the individual stories, but be afraid of embracing the universe as a whole. The article then goes on to note that Deadpool and Wolverine releases in theaters on July 26th. I don't want this. I don't want this. As a fan of the MCU, someone who's watched the majority of the MCU, there's things that I've missed. I'm not watching certain things just because they don't appeal to me. But I've seen all the Iron Mans, I've seen all the Thors, I've seen all the Captain Americas, seen all the Spider-Mans. You know, I've seen everything that I personally want to see. All the Avengers films, I rewatch them all the time. I've seen all of I've seen the whole what is it? The other film franchise that I'm thinking. Black Panther I've seen, that's not Doctor Strange. There's another trilogy that I'm missing, I think. Out of the big trilogies. I think there's another one that I'm missing. But I've seen, I'd say quite confidently, I've seen over 30 MCU projects. Over 30 plus. It may be close to the 50. It may be close to the 50 projects. So, them to be like, oh, we're going to separate the TV. The TV that they bought in 5 years ago and was like, this is all connected, blah, 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 we're doing this, and this is what it's going to be. For them to now go, we're going to separate all that again. Why? Why? I understand the whole getting a new audience. But realistically, if you want to do that, do a soft reboot. You know, do a soft reboot. It's not hard. To me, it just seems cheap. They're basically going, right, we're going to disconnect She-Hulk, which is a really bad show. But people watched it. We're going to disconnect Echo, a show that's soon to be coming out. This doesn't do well for Marvel shows. Marvel shows are up and down. We have some really good ones, some really weak ones, Secret Invasion being one of the weakest of them, in my opinion. But you get my flow. Like you get the drift where I'm going with this. If you're taking the shows out of continuity to facilitate more people who have been on this 16-year journey, are we really going to go, oh, we're going to watch a Marvel show because, you know, it's not connected to anything. We're going to watch it. I'm not saying Deadpool Born Again, like, people watch that because of Charlie Cox and it's already had a very successful run. But if you're doing a new show, let's say they're going to do a TV show on Captain Britain. It's not connected to the MCU, and he can't join the MCU because it's no longer connected. And if they wanted to make him join, then they'd have to connect it, of course. Clearly. If they wanted him in an Avengers film or a Thunderbolts film or another MCU movie project, you'd have to connect it, in theory. So if you're connecting that show because you want that, it just makes certain characters all that difficult to get in. Let's say they do a Young Avengers film. They can't use Kate Bishop. Nope, because Kate Bishop was introduced in a TV show. Technically speaking, Yelena, she was introduced in Hawkeye and went on to be in Black Widow. That was a prequel. And then went on, she was introduced into Black Widow, weren't she? But then went on to be in Hawkeye. So if you're disconnecting that, she never got a revenge. We never saw how that storyline resolved itself. Become the Thunderbolts next year, we've got to believe it's resolved itself. Right. I don't believe it. I don't believe that this show is gonna... I don't believe this move is good. It shows them trying to sort of rebuild a brand that isn't broken. People are going to see Deadpool and Wolverine because it's Deadpool and Wolverine. You don't need to see every MCU project to understand the MCU. It helps. But when I first started the MCU, like properly, this is going back 10 odd years. I watched Winter Soldier. I didn't even watch the first Captain America movie. I hadn't seen any of the Iron Man stuff. I hadn't seen anything that had come before Winter Soldier. Loved it. It was a solo self-contained movie, but it had ties to other things. Perfect. Avengers Age of Ultron. One of my other first movies that I watched. That released in 2015. Another film. I hadn't watched many by this point. I wasn't huge on Marvel because I just... At that time, I wasn't big on movies. I'd watch a movie in bed. But I was mostly watching YouTube as a kid, or I was watching TV shows. Because TV shows were episodic. And you had lots of them to enjoy. I was normally watching like Friends or Two and a Half Men or something. It was like when I was like 12, 13. But MCU just didn't appeal to me. Because it was a 2-hour movie. And it wasn't for the fact of the continuity. Back then, there was only like 20 films. And a couple of shows. I understand the daunting subject. But people need to understand you don't need to watch every piece of content to understand the story. A bit like Star Wars. You don't need to read every book to understand the story of Star Wars. It helps. You don't need to. You don't need to watch every single show to understand the MCU. It's an added bonus. It helps some people understand it better than others, but you don't need to. And we're also in this day and age where there's this thing called YouTube. So if you really don't want to watch a movie, go on YouTube. Watch an in-depth story review. They're out there. I feel like splitting this up is a bad decision on Kevin Feige's part. I've been doing a lot of Marvel videos recently, and he's, ticked a lot of boxes for me. This one's a big fat X. This could ruin the MCU for me in the sense of I enjoy the connective tissue. And I enjoy the fact that I assume they're staying with some connective tissue. But why not just keep it? Like X-Men 97, right? Did wonders. We're going to be seeing probably a season 2. It was a very good show. So where's the issue? Oh, well, new viewers find it daunting. If the new viewers are finding it daunting, then fair enough. But there's this great thing, right? And it's called Avengers Endgame, right? Realistically, if you watch any movie besides from Spider-Man after that point, it is a reboot. Because 5 years passed, and you get these soft reboots. Yeah, okay. You have Wakanda Forever that, dives into T'Challa passing, but he didn't pass in a movie. So that movie's not connected to anything. Maybe it has a bit of connective tissue in the MCU somewhere else for or Easter eggs, but you're not going to pick up on the Easter eggs if you're just watching rebooted stuff, are you? Like, if you're just going to watch the shows, you're not going to be picking up on Easter eggs because Easter eggs can't be there. Maybe I've misunderstood the article completely, but my point is, separating them is not the answer. The answer is you need to decide where a new definitive timeline starts. Where do you as a studio go, okay, we're not rebooting the MCU, but here's a soft reboot for new viewers, right? 50 projects is a lot to watch, I'll admit. I can probably do it. I have a lot of free time. But I wouldn't... Is it a daunting task to me? Sounds like a fun one to me, actually. But I can understand why it'd be daunting to others. But I don't think this is the way, because you're segregating the viewers who've been with you for 16 years. You know, I've been with Marvel for 10 years, you know, on this journey. And I feel like it's been longer than that. It might even be longer than that. I just remember Winter Soldier being one of the first films that No. Sorry. 12 years. Marvel's Avengers, I watched at my mate's house when we were like 8 or 9, whenever old I was then. So that was one of my first introductions to the MCU. I always remember the Captain America suit, and I didn't like that suit. It sort of turned me off Captain America for a bit, but hang on. I don't think this is the way forward. Maybe I'm misreading it. Maybe I'm not understanding it properly, but it just doesn't sound like a good move. I really hope Kevin Feige reconsiders. Like, the MCU is doing fine, you know. Its scoring is doing amazing in scoring. It's doing amazing in numbers in box office. And you're like, well, they've had some bad films. They've had bad films, yeah. Bad films aren't going to help them, you know. New fans aren't going to sit and watch the bad content. Why do you think that the fans are coming back for this movie? Because it has the references. You know, and they're talking about all these X-Men references. It's a nostalgia fest. Cinema is full of it at the moment. I love nostalgia. I watched Beverly Hills Cops 1, 2, and 3, and I loved all the references in Beverly Hills Cops. Axel Foley wasn't alive when them movies came out, but I still loved them because I did my research. Bad Boys. I watched 1 and 2. Understood all the references in For Life, Bad Boys for Life, and Ride or Die. So I've understood all these references. I've understood all these points that these nostalgic movies are trying to make. If you really want to join something, join in on a movie trend, or you want to watch a particular movie, just watch it. Oh, well, I want to watch Spider-Man No Way Home, but I don't know if I can watch it because I've heard that the other Spider-Man... You don't need to watch it. I mean, it helps because you get to learn the arc of the Green Goblin and Tobey Maguire's characters there. You get to learn what happens with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, but you don't need to watch it. It's nice, but it's still a great film by itself. I went with a couple of friends who... Some had seen all the old movies. Some would just watch the MCU. And when that happened, they're like, who are they? Oh, and we went, oh, they're all the Spider-Man. They're like, oh, okay, that's cool. They understood that this was for fans like us. But they still enjoyed the movie. Because the movie was good. Separation is not what MCU needs. It needs good, decent movies like Deadpool and Wolverine. It needs good movies like Spider-Man No Way Home. It needs good TV shows like WandaVision. It needs good TV shows. I'd even say like Hawkeye. It doesn't need bad shows and bad movies like Secret Invasion or the Marvels, or even I'd even put... This is a difficult one for me. But I'd even say, like, we don't need movies that aren't, you know, what was the thing that MODOK was in? I might be getting this completely wrong. There was MODOK was in something. I can't remember what it was called. But that was awful. Awful CGI. We just need good CGI movies when CGI is, you know, needed. We need good movies that are just good. I mean, if you look at Longlegs, right? New movie that's just come out. I just want to point this out. Independent film. Oh, it doesn't have a... No, it's independent film. That's a good film. Word of mouth. That's what MCU now needs. It needs a good word of mouth. Have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine, mate? I know the last couple weren't great, but this one really takes it out of the park. That's what they need. MCU does not need to be rebooted, soft reboot. It can happen eventually, but it doesn't need to be taking away its connective tissue, pulling away, going, okay, but we're going to make this separate. So we have new fans that can jump in. No! We want the connective tissue. We enjoy it. He says it there. So why are they going to get rid of it? Anyway, I've ranted on too long. And to be honest, maybe this has all been misinterpreted. You guys can let me know down below. But what do you guys think? Leave me a comment down below. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. And yeah, join us. Because we are building a channel here to talk about movies. This week has been very comic heavy. I have had some Top Gun videos come out. And I have tried to do other videos other than just comic book movies. However, it's very difficult when you're in a comic book movie week and it's just that's all the news is. Oh, Kevin Feige says, oh, James Gunn's done this. Oh, this has been rumored. Oh, okay, cool. It's very difficult to sort of get out from that and be like, there's a new movie to talk about. I did a My Spy video review, My Spy Eternal City review. Check that out. It's not done one on YouTube, but check it out. You know, that's a movie outside of comic books. If you want to check something out, all my review style, if you want to check that out, do that. But yeah, I'll see you on the next one. And as always, stay cinematic.